Hey guys, we have a new week of astrology to talk about. Let's get into it. This is a pretty busy week. There's a lot of activity going on, especially as we get towards the end of the week. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week, jam-packed, and we will be talking about that in our report for today. To start the week, we also have a couple things of note. We have Venus entering Capricorn on Monday. That's going to bring a bit of a vibe shift. We will talk about that in the report for today. On Tuesday, we've got Mercury and Saturn coming into a square. We will talk about that as well. It could be presenting some of its own issues. There is a very strong Saturn oriented nature to the way that energy is going and flowing this week. We have Saturn stationing direct on Friday, so there could be issues with authority, control, rules, regulations, things like that. But interestingly, we also have a very strong Uranian energy present this week as well. We have a full moon in Taurus that is happening on the same day that Saturn stations, but it's in a conjunction to Uranus. So while we have this strong Saturn energy, we also have a very strong Uranian energy, breaking out of boxes, creative solutions, overcoming challenges, and some type of maybe innovative way. I don't know. Very interesting vibe this week, but it's probably going to be a wild ride. Definitely getting back into some of those stormy seas type of territories again. On Sunday, we have the Sun and Uranus coming into exact opposition. Expect the unexpected, shakeups, plot twists, definitely probably things being a bit unpredictable. That's what we're looking at. That's where we're going. That's what we're going to be talking about. Let's get into our report of the day. Let's put this all together and try to figure out what things are going to be looking like for us as we move through the week and what specifically we have going on as we start our week on Monday and Tuesday. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Monday, November 11th, 2024. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me till the end of this report, I have done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field from more than one modality whenever I am doing these energy overviews, just to get an alternative energetic perspective on what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you. We're going to do that at the end. Let's start, though, at the beginning with the astrology. It could be a weird week. We have these two forces. It's really interesting to me that as we are preparing to more dominantly sort of tip into this emphasis on these Aquarian themes and archetypes and energies as Pluto prepares to enter the sign of Aquarius for the next 20 years, empowering the characteristics and the vibrations, I guess, associated with the way that sign operates. The last week preceding that transition, we have both of the rulers of that sign highlighted and sort of doing the most at the same exact time, on the same day. We will talk about, and we're going to focus on what's happening Monday and Tuesday as we get the week started. But really all the action is kind of happening this week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And all week, we are, on one hand, kind of caught up in the strong Saturn energy as a result of Saturn's station. And we also have Mercury squaring Saturn. But the Sun is drawing into an opposition with Uranus all week as well. And the moon at the same time is drawing into a conjunction with Uranus because it's Scorpio season, and the Scorpio season full moon is the Taurus full moon. Scorpio and Taurus are oppositions. They're on a polarity. So when we've got a Scorpio new moon, that means we've got a Taurus full moon. And right now, Uranus happens to be in the sign of Taurus. And of course, where this moon is lining up is within, I think, 2 degrees of Uranus. So that's a very tight conjunction to Uranus. So we've got a full moon in Taurus that is conjunct Uranus planet, obviously associated with and ruling the sign of Aquarius, where Pluto is about to head next week on the 19th. Pluto is going to enter the sign of Aquarius. On the 15th, Saturn stations direct. On the 15th, same day, we have the full moon in Taurus in a conjunction to Uranus. Of course, that will be the only full moon all year that is conjunct Uranus. So on the day that Saturn stations, we also have our only full moon of the entire year that will be in a conjunction to Uranus, Saturn, Uranus, Aquarius. And then a couple of days later, on the 19th, Pluto enters the sign of Aquarius. Right now, Pluto is at 29 degrees, very last couple of degree minutes of the sign of Capricorn, ruled by who? Ruled by Saturn, that planet again, right? That is stationing. That is, so it's, this week right here, you guys, and I'll talk about more about this as I conclude this report actually, but really, like, you know, for this past couple of months, I feel like I've sort of been on repeat saying it's the end, it's the end, it's the end of an era, it's the crossroads, it's a turning point, it's the end of an era, it's the end of an age, it's a transition point. But like, if we've been getting like more and more and more condensed and like to that point and that energy, and like this week right here, I mean, with when the moon conjoined Pluto and Capricorn for the last time last week, like that was another like big moment of like, okay, final release of this energy. But now that we have Saturn stationing, like we've got this full moon going on, and it's a full moon, right? The sun, it's Scorpio season, which is also ruled by Pluto. Pluto's in this last couple of degree minutes. Like this is the like final it's like the last couple of days that like old world, old dynasty, old legacy, old power type of energy gets to like sustain and support itself. And then really, as we head into the energy of next week, we are hitting like a fundamental energetic, like new beginning turning point, and things are going to start functioning differently moving forward. So this full moon, which I mean, the full moon is telling us, right? Because we got a full moon and it's in a conjunction to Uranus, which is telling us, oh, hey, on one hand, age of Aquarius, because it's Uranus and Saturn, they're like, oh, hey, Aquarius, like this is what's going on. This is what's coming in strong. This is where we're going. But also Uranus is like twists and turns and shocks and surprises, and it's the planet that puts things right and makes the changes for us we haven't been able to make for ourselves. So it's like the energetic, like getting the boot out of the sign, or out of this like older, you know, what I talk about all the time, the older energy that we are transitioning out of now, represented by the literal like 2,000 year age of Pisces, condensed most particularly throughout this past 16 years as Pluto transited the sign of Capricorn. And now as we prepare to go into this Pluto Aquarius energy, a lot of things are going to be wrapping themselves up. Like this is the past, really, in a lot of ways, like finally hitting that conclusion point, and also something opening up in the context of like where we're going to be going next. There are a lot of opportunities. One of the other like really kind of like special and magical things about the energy as it's playing out right now is that we have this mutual reception happening between Mercury and Jupiter in their signs, obviously, of Gemini and Sagittarius. Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in the sign of Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. And they're also drawing into an opposition themselves this week. Like this represents like big, blessed, fortunate, good, successful opportunities, ventures, deals, meetings, conversations, connections. We also, which is something that I'm going to be talking about in the energy of today, have Venus entering the sign of Capricorn. This is also a very like investment, commitment, like taking things seriously, wanting to commit to generate value type of energy. And that in combination with this mutual reception between Mercury and Jupiter, I think is going to be presenting a lot of perhaps like positive opportunities, meetings, you know, being at the right place at the right time, sort of synchronized or synchronistic connections going on that in some way are like quite expansive, even if it's just to do with what we're learning or the way that it's shifting or expanding our minds somehow. Like there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of opportunity along those lines, and also in the context of transactions, with it being Mercury. That's like mercantile, like merchant energy as well. So really good time also for sales, presentations, you know, pitches and stuff like that. Things are probably going to go pretty well along those lines over this next at least week or so that we're moving through right here. Although we do have the Uranian energy, so there is a shock factor to things, and there is again a level of unpredictability. Things are going to be really, really, really hard to call, for better or for worse, as we move through this period of time. There's going to be a lot of things that are happening in ways that we just like totally didn't anticipate. you know, upsets on one hand, miraculous Hail Marys on another hand. So it, again, should be interesting times, probably a strange week with the simultaneous poles of both the Saturn dominant energy and the Uranian dominant energy. You know, Saturn's so strong. Whenever a planet stations in its motion in the sky, its energy is amplified. So that's why I'm like, there's a very strong Saturn like pulse of things this week, which is going to put the emphasis on control, limitation, rules, regulations, authority, like where we're being held back, perhaps where we're being limited, like where we feel overly contained, but also where we kind of want to switch things up, change things up, and break out of the box. Breaking out of the box energy could be a strong theme in a lot of different ways this week. Breaking out of the box, thinking outside of the box, like unboxing things generally ourselves and our lives. Also finding unique solutions to old or complicated problems, like with the Saturn energy and the Uranian energy. And also remember, Saturn represents the past, it represents karma, and it represents, in Pisces right now, also old belief systems and stuff that may have been limiting in some way. Uranus generally represents the future, represents where we're going. And when I think of Uranus and the way it functions, a lot of times it has to do with like doing whatever is necessary to sort of get us out of our own way and on a path that is facilitating some like higher purpose or soul evolution or something that like needs to be done or needs to be learned or needs to be achieved in alignment with like a greater destiny on a higher level. Uranus, it's like it facilitates the path to a future unfolding in alignment with like a higher plan. That's why I feel like a lot of times it's said that Uranus makes the changes for us. We haven't been able to make for ourselves. It's the lightning striking the tower. It's like when we've gotten ourselves too boxed in, this is how, however, universe decides to help us get out of it. And it also reminds me, you know, Aquarius is an interesting sign because it is co-ruled by these two planets. Of course, Saturn being the ancient ruler of the sign of Aquarius, and Uranus being the modern ruler of sign of Aquarius. And you can see like the characteristics of both of those signs like contained within the sign of Aquarius, even though they're very contradictory in and of themselves. But it has a lot to do with breaking through our own limitations, right? Like if Uranus is an energy that helps us to get out of our own way and like get out of any type of limiting circumstances that would prevent that greater plan or greater destiny from being achieved, Saturn represents those limitations. Uranus represents that breakthrough energy. And Aquarius is the sign that like helps us, I feel like, bridge the space between. Like a lot of times, you know, Aquarian energy can be very fixed and very stubborn and very like ingrained in some type of ways, but about being outside the box, being different, being able to be unique, or sort of like rebelling against tradition and stuff. And as we move more into this dominant Aquarian energy, we're going to do so many deep dives into the way that Aquarius works, just so that we all have sort of a better sense of how to navigate and maneuver it, that we're all going to become experts in Aquarius over this next couple of years here. So I'm not going to get too much into that right now, but there is definitely with the Aquarian energy a need to reconcile the Saturnian side of it and the Uranian side of it. And honestly, this is best done through incorporating self-discipline in the context of self-actualization, which is another thing that we're going to be talking about a lot going forward. But it can kind of get all over the place, and we do probably have some of that coming our way as we begin moving through this stronger Aquarian energy and are just sort of like getting our feet wet, getting used to working with this. But we're not there yet, you guys. Actually, you know, as I said, this is the very last week where we do still have this Pluto Capricorn energy that is just still barely hanging on there. So there is likely to be still this juxtaposition of forces, the past and the future, maybe still perhaps this struggle or things coming to a head, or feeling of pressure or something being exerted on us, maybe perhaps in relation to the past somehow that we just feel like is overly oppressive or interfering with where we're going or where we know the road is leading to, or, you know, just what we're trying to do or become or create next. So those are some themes that we could be navigating this week. But this whole thinking outside of the box, perhaps finding maybe a solution to how to get out of something, or maybe like some type of long-standing issue we've been dealing with could be coming up. It's ironic because the north node of the moon, the destiny point, which is a feature of our week as well, as the moon will be conjuncting the north node tomorrow on Tuesday. It's at 6 degrees of Aries right now. That Sabian symbol is a square brightly lighted on one side, which exactly makes me think of like Aquarius and the Saturn Uranian energy. It's like it presents, it is the square, right? That's where we're contained. That's where we're limited. That's where we're held inside. And, you know, we can't necessarily see out and even beyond that, but it's brightly lighted on one side. If we're looking at it properly, if we shift our gaze, you know, if we have the right frame of perspective through which to view it, we can see a solution. We can find the way out. We can get an epiphany or the right idea that shows us how to solve the problem. So again, you know, whether we're, and it's the destiny point, right? That's the north node, and that is what is going to be activated by the moon on Tuesday. Tuesday is an interesting day. Tuesday could be honestly a challenging day. We've got some very strong fire energy, but we've also got a square, an exact square with Mercury and Saturn. So there could be some people that are just kind of going off on things that are frustrating or irritating them. We'll get there. Okay, we'll stay on Monday for now. But yeah, the square brightly lighted on one side, and this week itself generally could have some things sort of falling into place, or like coincidences or synchronicities or divine alignment, however you want to refer to it, or just epiphany, flash of insight, something like that, that is showing us something clearly, or that we are like seeing through fresh eyes maybe, or for the first time, you know, figuring out how to get out of something, solve a problem, release ourselves, like fix something that's been an issue. I don't know, but it, you know, unique solutions. Okay, there's like inspiration there to help us figure things out. So we've got that, but of course also the issues to do with control, authority, rules, regulations. This could also bring up things to do with the father, with the strong Saturnian influence, the past, in the context probably of sudden change, advancement, awakening, or liberation. This Uranian energy equally is strong. Okay. But it's funny because, as I said, you know, on Sunday, actually, at the end of this week, if we think of starting the week on Monday and ending on Sunday, I know technically it starts on Sunday and ends on Monday, but for some reason, because I'm doing it, I guess, on the week starting on Monday, Sunday is always the last day that I'm looking at. But Sunday this week, that is our exact Sun-Uranus opposition. The reason why the full moon is conjunct Uranus is because it happens to be occurring within just that day or two of the exact opposition between the Sun in Scorpio and Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So that is, again, just like, you know, we've been talking about oppositions lately because we've had Mars and Pluto in an opposition, which I haven't mentioned in our video for today yet, but we still have Mars and Pluto in an opposition. So that is still like an underlying just sort of like reverberation that's going on out there, kind of just something that's playing out in the background. Like we're still pulled pretty tight. Tensions are still, you know, there. Like it's still a pretty like hostile and contentious energetic environment, even though we do have Mars now 3 degrees out of exact opposition. So this is waning, but we're in more opposition territory this week. So things coming head to head could also be reflections, but it could just be pitting us up against something that we feel like we need to break free from, with Uranus being the planet. Or a lot of times also it can stimulate like this deep inner desire for change. Like a lot of times we just like can't keep doing things the same way. Like there's just like this need to change things up, to like disrupt the status quo, to get off the beaten path, you know what I mean? Like we could just find ourselves really needing to switch it up somehow. That's how it could be manifesting. Or, you know, a lot of times this is actually like universe interfering in our lives in a way that is very much out of our control, and just kind of taking us and dumping everything upside down and setting us down somewhere else, which usually is not very comfortable, especially in the sign of Taurus. Uranus in the sign of Taurus, this is disruptions to the status quo, to the comfort zone, okay? It can be financial, it can be material, it can have to do with our like projects, work projects, things that we're creating or building. It can have to do with like the home, like security, foundations and stuff like that. Shaking of foundations. This could also literally translate into a week where there's like earthquakes or like literal like big like lightning storms or big powerful like earth type of crisis or change or something like that. Okay, there could be like earthquakes and stuff with the Uranian Taurian energy being activated, and again like electricity, electric storms, really strong. I don't know, with the sun in Scorpio, which is the seas, the stormy seas energy. I've been using a lot of water metaphors lately in describing the way that the energy seems to be coming together, and that's just because we're in this Scorpio energy, which is very strong right now. If you guys have been following along, I've been talking about how this Scorpio season is like the epitome of a Scorpio season because one of its defining factors was the Mars-Pluto opposition that I just got done talking about, both of those being the co-rulers of the sign of Scorpio. And now, as Pluto, one of those co-rulers, is about to enter the sign of Aquarius, we've got the co-rulers of the sign of Aquarius that are prominent. So I don't know. Universe has choreographed this in a very, it's like precise yet blatant way, the way that like all of this stuff is coming together right now as we're going through this very significant astrological window that this year and moving into next year also represents right now, really. So with our opposition this week, with the Sun and Uranus coming head to head, it could, the breakthroughs or the ideas or the solutions or the breakdowns, perhaps the shakeups, could come as a result of confrontation, tension, challenge, right? Things coming head to head, because that's what oppositions are and that's what they do. Or it could also be some type of reflection that we are gaining that is driving this change as well. But rule breaking energy, I would say, but perhaps specifically more about like redefining entirely the rule book itself, rewriting the entire manual type of energy going on this week. Saturn stationing direct or after having been retrograde in the sign of Pisces since June 19th, which we'll talk more about this in actually my next video. But you know, the Sun and Uranus coming into an opposition while this is happening as well. Like the rules of the game are changing going forward, and it's just we're not going to be doing things the same anymore. And this is not just like the rules are, you know, being broken and there's going to be some type of consequence and then things will go back to how they were before. This is actually more about, I think, the rules changing in a way that is kind of like unprecedented, but that is going to be the way that things just happen going forward. The changes that are happening now are redefining the way that things are going to be done, and they're concluding the way that things have been done up until this point of time. So definitely expect the unexpected week. Probably also perhaps in terms of authority doing unexpected things that maybe we weren't prepared for, didn't expect, unexpected changes to structure, rules, organizations taking place this week, things just really sort of coming out of left field. This could also have to do with sudden investments or commitments or purchases. Remember, I was talking about that Jupiter-Mercury mutual reception happening as well. Also, Venus entering the sign of Capricorn, which we're still going to get there. We've got to talk about that. That's happening on Monday, but that's also kind of like a purchase, investment, material acquisition, like oriented type of energy. Like we want to secure our resources when we have Venus coming into the sign of Capricorn. So that could kind of be an emphasis this week, but with kind of things happening out of the blue, unexpected, unprepared in a way that's maybe like sort of disconcerting or uncomfortable, shakeups type of energy going on. Things could feel strangely both in and out of control at the same time this week, with Saturn stationing and a full moon conjunct Uranus on the exact same day. Like that's a wild dynamic to have setting up at the same time. So let's talk more specifically about Monday now, about Venus entering Capricorn, bringing things down to earth a bit. Venus in Capricorn has an appreciation for the finer things, value, longevity. This is quality over quantity type of energy, and it likes high quality things that are made to last. It's more serious, it's more practical, it's more conventional, it's more traditional, classical, conservative, and its tastes and its preferences, values, and desires. Venus in Capricorn has like class and sophistication. It's very precise, refined, well-mannered. It appreciates good etiquette. Like that is what we're dealing with. That's the sort of thing. And that's just kind of how people are likely to be more oriented, especially relationally over this period of time. This is not like a super flamboyant energy. You know, if you've got business deals, negotiations, and stuff like that, the more prepared, like minimal in terms of your speech. This is not Venus in Sagittarius that wants it all like spilling over and like really embraces that type of thing. Venus in Capricorn appreciates like refined, simplistic, like to the point, but expressed in a way that denotes value and care. You know what I mean? So that's the way that you want to package and present things for the best results, the best success with people in this energy, even if they're not generally like that. The more that we can kind of like stay in that type of structure throughout Venus's transit through the sign of Aquarius, it's just the more we'll be well received by others, like being very well mannered, you know, making sure that you are dotting your I's and crossing your T's and just being very professional and stuff like that. It's just very appreciated when we've got a Venus Capricorn and Venus Capricorn energy. Like this is about the money, about the material stuff. Like there's a true value and appreciation for material productivity, focus, and growth. Okay, so that's where people are going to be geared and oriented over this next couple of weeks with Venus now transiting the sign of Capricorn. And also, like I said, because of that, I feel like this is a very good opportunity for like investments alongside the mutual reception between the Mercury and Jupiter in their opposition as well. So it's going to ground out the energy, and it is more commitment oriented. Venus in Sagittarius does not like to commit. Venus in Capricorn is very commitment, investment oriented. So people are going to be looking to and ready to sort of like settle down, to make a choice, to commit, to invest in something over this next couple of weeks. Saturn stationing direct. This is also like a commitment, like being in control, right? We're about, I think, to start feeling more grounded and more in control over the past 5 months with Saturn transiting backwards through the sign of Pisces. We really may have felt very out of control in our lives and our emotions and our feelings and our beliefs about things, and just generally like things may have seemed like they're lacking structure, lacking control. Like we may have had trouble with self-discipline or feeling like we could adhere to any sense of authority internally and externally. There could have been real breakdowns in authority going on. Now that we have Saturn stationing later this week, that is going to help us to generally feel, I think, more in control, at least maybe like of ourselves again, as we move forward. And then Venus entering the sign of Capricorn as well. That's also grounding things sort of like into reality and helping us to be a bit more goal oriented. And then, as I said, with a mutual reception, Jupiter, Mercury, this is, I think, much better commitment and investment making energy than we had going on last week with the Venus Neptune square. So big deals, big plans, important connections could be going on right now, like crucial relationships that are kind of making their way to us. It could honestly feel, though, as we start the day on Monday, kind of more like a daydream, even though I'm talking about this grounded energy. As we start the week on Monday, aside from having Venus enter Capricorn, which is grounding things out, we also have a Pisces moon that is happening, heading towards a conjunction with Neptune, the sun in the sign of Scorpio, the moon in the sign of Pisces. This is kind of a dreamy day, dreamy energy to start out our week. It could feel kind of hard to get out of bed, might be in a struggle to kind of like shake the tired, groggy feeling. Could be something significant also about our dreams, or the like what's coming through in our dreams, our intuition, intuitive hunches and stuff like that could be quite prominent as we're getting this week started. Or it could just be sort of like a slow morning. This is Also likely to be a more emotional or emotionally sensitive day as well, with a water sign trine. But we do have harmonious energy going on, although we still do have this backdrop of like this definitely kind of like more tension oriented stuff, which we know is happening. Both Monday and Tuesday this week, we have the moon making trines to planets, which generally gives a pretty harmonious emotional situation that we're dealing with. So we do have that going on. Things are probably, for the most part, pretty positive as we're moving through the day on Monday. But the moon, as I said, is in Pisces and is moving towards a conjunction to Neptune, which is giving the more like dream-like feature of the day, generally emotionally sensitive. Of course, there could also be themes of loss going on with a Pisces moon and a sun in Scorpio. Letting go, release, disconnecting from reality could be sort of the pull, right? Dreams, fantasies, ideals, and visions, where we would rather be perhaps than kind of dealing with or looking at what's really going on, like in our real lives or our jobs or the real world right now, not being all that present. People are likely to not be all that present. Be kind of careful driving and stuff, especially to start the week, because again, people could just sort of be like lost in a bit of la la land, especially as we are starting the day on Monday. It's also, though, possible that like we're kind of getting fixated on promises or the vision or the potential of something also. Fantasies of value, resources, and material possession of things, with Venus entering Capricorn that day, while we've got the moon in Pisces trining the sun in Scorpio, moving into opposition with Uranus. Like there could be some real like high hopes or high ideals or visions of potential of something, like maybe even on a more material level, that we're kind of caught up in or that are consuming what we're thinking about somehow, or just the way that we're feeling about things seeming or looking like something that we can commit to. Because remember, the energy from really Monday gearing us forward for the next several days is this more commitment oriented energy. So valuable opportunities could seemingly be presenting themselves, and we could kind of be caught up in that as well. So things do get off to a bit of a slow start on Monday. But it is, as I said, this more emotionally harmonious, generally positive energy. Sunday actually may have been a struggle. If you guys watched my last video, I was talking about how Sunday we had the moon in Pisces conjoining Saturn about to station, and there could have been a feeling of just like being over it, being at the end, like not having the will to sort of like fight another day. But there could be a bit of like an upliftment and something that is just re-inspiring us or restoring our faith somehow that comes through on Monday, that kind of like pulls us up out of that hole a little bit. Venus and Capricorn introducing or reintroducing the significance maybe of a goal or like what's really important to us. And as we actually move into the energy of Tuesday, things could really be re-inspiring us somehow. This is a day where we could be quite fired up to move towards something, to do something, to accomplish something. The moon will leave the sign of Pisces, enter the sign of Aries, where it will come into both a conjunction with the North Node, the destiny point, and also a trine to Mars and Leo right now. So we'll have a fire sign trine. We're moving from a water trine with the moon and the sun on Monday to a fire trine with the moon and Mars on Tuesday, and the moon is in the sign of Mars as well. So this is probably going to be a really fiery oriented day. And also, as I said, Mercury is going in Sagittarius, will be coming into a square with Saturn in Pisces as well. People could really be losing their cool, honestly, over some issues or some challenges or some confrontations that come up on Tuesday. This is a day where I would definitely, I just said, pay attention driving, take care of driving. There could be some like road rage issues. There could be like Saturn squaring Mercury. This is delays, okay, to our ability to communicate, to our ability to commute, to our ability to travel. Like there could be blocks, obstructions, interferences, like traffic jams going on with the moon also trining Mars. This is an unrestrained like flow of energy going back and forth between the emotions and the ego, or like anger, or it could be very passionate, very passionate responses to things. People could be very fired up, not willing to back down, not taking no for an answer. You know, again, more of this just like revolutionary, rebellious, rule breaking, like I will like act outside of the box type of energy coming up against authority. But it could also be a highly creative energy, and it could also just be an energy where we're dealing with some frustrations, or again, like the limitations. Saturn, it's the same planet that's about to station in Mercury, that's the mind. There could also really be a need to change our perspective about something, that some of this maybe like anger leads to a breakthrough in that regard as well. So it's kind of, we're gonna want to operate with a bit of care, I think, in the energy as we move into Tuesday. Now, the moon in Aries, right, coming in the conjunction with the North Node, trining Mars, like this is lighting that fire under us. It could be to take some type of action with the moon and the North Node together to move ourselves forward, to make progress, maybe to solve that problem, to like take action somehow that is moving us in a direction that we feel like is more aligned with where we're going than what's been holding us back or where we've been. But again, it's sort of like the past and the future coming up against each other. The North Node, the destiny point, but also the Saturn energy, the past, karma, like, and the struggle and the tug of war right now to like break away from the old whatever and be able to finally move forward into this new chapter. It's also funny because Mars, the planet, you know, that's kind of highlighted by the trine to the moon on Tuesday, will be at 3 degrees of Leo, and that Sabian symbol is a woman having her hair bobbed, which is like a trend, right? Like moving forward, making a change to like align with like the current trend of things. So the pull towards the future literally being indicated by the symbolic placement of the degree where Mars will be in the trine to the sun. Mars is also coming into a trine to the North Node in the fire signs right now, and the North Node is in Mars's sign. We're in a time of fated action, you guys. A lot that happens over this next couple of weeks is going to be out of our control. And again, just one of these, like, we're going to have a Mars North Node trine. That's active facilitation of destiny. And we're going to have Pluto entering the sign of Aquarius, which is the power being placed in like the next phase of kind of like our collective lesson and evolution in regards to the Aquarian themes and archetypes coming in right now, which we know that we're transitioning into a greater age of Aquarius. This next 20 years is our lesson plan essentially on how to build this new age, how to lay the foundations that will define the next 2,000 years. That's what this current Pluto Aquarius transit over the next 20 years is going to be teaching us. And with the Mars North Node simultaneously lining up, there's just going to be like divinely facilitated things happening, falling into place with the Uranian opposition to the sun. Are these things going to be comfortable? Probably not. Are they going to make us feel very secure? Probably not. Are we going to feel like, you know, this is all great and we can definitely trust what's happening right now? Probably not. But we've got Saturn stationing direct also in the sign of Pisces, tests to our faith. Okay, this past 5 months has been a lot about learning how to sort of surrender the burden to a higher power with the faith that things are unfolding the way that they're meant to unfold as we go through this sort of like monumental energetic shift right now. And we're going to need to take those lessons and apply them, I think, as we move forward through this period of time. But ultimately, it's all for the right reasons right now, and we're going to come to find, you know, as we get down the road, that these were the things that needed to happen so that the series of events can take place, which gets us to where we need to be, which once we get there, I'm telling you, we will be grateful for, and we will not have, you know, we will not wish to change. It's not like we'll get there and be like, oh, I wish things would go back to the way that they were. We'll get there and we'll be like, you know what? I wouldn't have chosen that. I would not pick to go through that again. However, I am ultimately glad, I guess, that that happened, because this is better, much better than that was. and now like there's this whole new future and all these new potentials and opportunities, you know what I mean? So that's where we're gearing, that's where we're going. We need to try our best as we move through this period of time to keep ourselves mentally oriented in that regard, because otherwise it could just be sort of a bit of an uncomfortable time as we are navigating this upcoming energy, as it always generally is when there's a strong Uranian energy playing out. And then when we add the strong Saturnian energy to that as well, this just is definitely like the walls falling down in ways that maybe we didn't expect or weren't prepared for, and having to figure it out. Okay, but ultimately, like, it's going to be for the best. And as I said, we do have these trines going on Monday and Tuesday, and we also have Mercury and Jupiter building into the opposition as well, which is telling us that at the very least, you guys, we're going to learn a lot, but it's probably going to be more encouraging than discouraging. We're probably going to have more optimism, honestly, than pessimism as we move forward. Things again could be kind of heavy, kind of oppressive, kind of bleak, kind of challenging, kind of critical as we head into the weekend this weekend. But next week things are going to change and shift radically, and we do have the Mercury Jupiter opposition that will accompany Pluto's entrance into the sign of Aquarius. So that is telling us that things are probably going to be looking better than we can anticipate right now, actually, as we move into the next couple weeks. And it's going to be a very busy, there's going to be a lot of change, a lot of information, a lot of chatter, a lot that we can't expect or predict right now, which is just going to be coming in next week. But the Saturn station week should be interesting. You know, as I said, normally quite heavy, oppressive, like duty-oriented, restriction-based energy, but with the Uranian full moon happening as well, lightning striking the tower, electrified stuff happening. So both stabilizing forces and destabilizing forces happening at once, more of the future and the past juxtaposed to one another, sudden shakeups, changes, upsets to maybe the rules or the structures of things, or that are like trying to be implemented right now. But we should start feeling at least more in control of ourselves as we move through the energy this week. We have, as I mentioned, had to learn to surrender a lot over this past 5 months with Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now it's about, in many ways, coming through in many different planetary positions and activations right now, talking about taking back control of our lives, becoming self-empowered again, taking back the authority over the direction of our destiny and stuff like that. And this could just be also the way that we are sort of personally feeling, maybe, as we do move into the energy of Tuesday and the moon in Aries, sign of the self, comes into the conjunction with the North Node. This could be sort of self-empowering also in the context, especially with a trine to Mars. But still, it's like not backing down, being very assertive, being willing to stand up for ourselves and like fight for what we want, where we're going, what's happening next, what we're passionate about. Mars in the sign of Leo, our pride, our loyalty, what we love. Like, this could definitely be a motivating force behind whatever we're inspired, or whatever action we feel compelled to take, or whatever situations we find ourselves in and responding to this week as well. Of course, you know, Pluto at that last couple of degree minutes of the sign of Capricorn, this underlying hostility that's still going strong, and I should not really be undercut. It really is kind of like an undercurrent of everything right now. Saturn ruling the position of Pluto, stationing direct, the sun coming into the opposition with Uranus this week, full moon conjunct Uranus. Uranus is also in a trine to Pluto right now. So the sun-Uranus opposition will be both sextile and trine Pluto at that very last 29 degrees, couple of minutes of Capricorn. And the full moon, of course, then is also going to be in a trine to Pluto. Super transformative, you guys. The awakenings, the changes, what's happening right now, it really is part of this greater transition. This is, in my perception, any way you slice it, the final like breakaway from the old world energy dominance week that we have going on. There could be some real like last ditch efforts underway to maintain control, or to sort of like sink the entire ship, you know what I mean? Like take the entire ship down with them as they go. But I do think that this really when all is said and done, is the last week that some of these ancient bloodlines holding power, playing God, acting as remnants and relics of the past and the age of Pisces age, get to project their dominance over our reality. I think this is the last window moment in time where that type of thing is in any way energetically supported. After the 19th, Pluto enters the sign of Aquarius. We've also got this Mars fueling the North Node energy. We've got the Jupiter-Mercury opposition. This is when the game changes, and I think this week also, as I was talking in the beginning, how like the rules are changing and we're rewriting the manual, and it's unprecedented stuff that's gonna change things going forward and not go back to the way they were before. I feel like this week has a lot to do with what precedes that ultimate game change, the foreshadowing, that comes as a result of this pending fundamental shift that's going on, and the tug of war that is still energetically present as a byproduct of that playing itself out. We have the sun on Monday at 20 degrees of Scorpio. That Sabian symbol is a woman drawing aside two dark curtains, closing the entrance of a sacred pathway. So we're seeing behind the curtain again in some type of way. Pluto at that 29 degrees of Capricorn, a secret meeting of men responsible for world affairs. So that is what's happening. That's what we've got going on. That's the lineup. That's how things are coming together. We are seeing behind the curtain, and what we are figuring out is going to change the entire game because the rules are changing moving forward as well. So the game's changing, the rules are changing, and the way that things have been done for very long periods of time are about to evolve somehow. And there's a square brightly lighted on one side. So we're finding solutions, we're figuring things out, and we are liberating ourselves from where we have been cut off, limited, and contained in the past. It's so funny that we've got Mercury square Saturn while that's going on, like right before Mercury comes to the opposition with Jupiter. It's like, this is like, it's like the final mental breakthrough required, like coming up against, you know, this final, like, whatever we need to overcome. And Saturn could have to do with the way that we are thinking and our belief systems, or it could also have to do with literal like authority figures, career, boss, rules, all stuff like that. So that's where we're at. That's what we've got going on, you guys. I want to talk about the tarot just for a minute. We've got a message that is kind of reflecting this type of thing as well. This is, again, feeling like, you know, maybe coming to a choice, whether it's something is worth fighting for, whether it is worth it to us to continue to push against something or work towards something, or maybe if we would be better served just like giving up and giving in. I feel like a lot of us could maybe be struggling with being at some type of crossroads, not really sure if the decision that we're going to make is going to be 10 of Swords, like totally the end of us, or 10 of Cups, like the beginning of, like, lead to something that is like truly fulfilling in some type of a way. We may feel very like stalled or confused at this point about what perhaps to do, not knowing if we have the Magician, like what it takes to turn things around for ourselves or translate whatever we're trying to do into the outcome that we would like. Again, with the Two of Swords and the Five of Wands in reverse coming out, this to me is really and then the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Wands, it's like I am not really sure what to do. It's like I don't maybe have all the information. I don't maybe have all the perspective. I don't feel like I can make a decision. I'm confused in some type of a way. Something is unclear to me, and I don't know if I surrender to this thing or if I keep pushing against this thing, if it's going to be 10 of Swords or if it's going to be 10 of Cups, like if it's going to be the end or if it's really just the beginning. So again, ending and the beginning, and not knowing if certain things are worth fighting for, fighting against, pursuing, if we should keep it up, if we should back off. Ultimately though, you know, we've got the Magician coming out, so it's up to us. It's where we want to put our willpower. It's whether or not we believe in ourselves, you know what I mean? So do we want to be the Magician, or do we want to be, it's not the Five of Wands, it's the Seven of Wands. This is about boundaries, removing boundaries. I mean, basically like the same type of idea. Like, do we want to continue to pursue some type of conflict, or do we want to step back essentially and like surrender to something. But we could also feel there could also be an issue with boundaries. We could feel like our boundaries are not being respected, or, you know, maybe that's why we want to like get out of something or no longer continue to participate in something. But I mean, ultimately it's coming down, you know, we've got the Magician here. So this is talking about finding the power within ourselves. It's our willpower. You know what I mean? It's what's our belief, what's our talent stack like, and are we able to put those tools together in a way that is going to get us to the result that we want? And do we have the faith in ourselves ultimately to be able to step into that role? So I don't know, you guys, that's what the tarot message is saying, but I have a feeling a lot is going to be revealed to us as we move through this weekend and into the energy of next week for sure. Now I'm going to get us a synchronicity card, a piece of guidance from God's spirit universe, some advice. What should we keep in mind? What do we need to know? We have the yes card coming out. So if there is something that you're thinking about deliberating in this moment, the answer to that might be yes. Let's get a synchronicity card, a real message now. What does it say? Root out negativity, which is the name of the game right now. Root out, pull down, destroy. Jeremiah 1:10. You must root out, pull down, and destroy all of your negative attitudes, false beliefs, and erroneous opinions and ill will of every kind. You must completely alter the way you do things in your home and business. Do everything from a standpoint of the law of love and divine harmony. You will experience an enormous change in all phases of your life. You will meet all problems with faith in God, and you will overcome. Probably the best advice we could possibly get in the context of just what we're likely to be navigating through this week. So root out negativity. We are in Scorpio season. We got some very strong Pluto energy out there, and it's all about that. So that's what I have to say this week, you guys. Message from the stars, message from the cards. Probably going to be a bit of a bumpy week, but we're going to get through it, and we're heading in the right direction. So have faith, you guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would appreciate this type of astrology content as well. Leave me comments. I am so grateful for your presence here. If you guys are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I post pictures of those in a Facebook group that I have linked in my description box below. And come back with me on Wednesday, you guys. Actually, because everything is happening on Friday this week, I'm like splitting this weekend's videos into 2 parts. And Wednesday, I'm going to be talking more about the Saturn station, even though it's happening Friday alongside of our full moon, because the full moon, of course, needs to be the focus of the weekend video. So we're going to talk about Saturn and Uranus on Wednesday, and then we're going to talk about the full moon on Friday. At least that's what I think's going to happen. But I will tell you guys also, we're in strong Uranian territory right now. I'm going to do my best to be here and be on schedule, but there is a stronger than normal likelihood that I may have to skip out on one video over this next couple of weeks here as this energy comes through, because I already feel the things getting a little shaky out there. So anyways, that's that. But I will be back with you guys on Wednesday, I do believe, and you know, you should come too. I will see you then, guys. Have a really beautiful start to your week, and until next time, bye.